have to get it. Go to Allahabad. Just pass it. चल दिया है
Suppose we don't on the chair and the dais have a right to intervene. I request Mr. M.C. Rajvanshi, Chairman of the Reception Committee, Mr. Santosh Kumar Tripathi, who is called our Honorable Election Chief Justice, Mr. Markande Kadju, and Senior Most Judge of the Allahabad High Court, Mr. Justice Mishra 100th, the guest of honors to the dais. Chapter 11, Sindhi, Mr. M. As per Indian culture and traditions, our guests have divine spirits. We have to pay them respect in honor by garlanding them and by presenting Honorable the Chief Justice of India by garlanding. He is requested to garland Mr. Justice V. N. Krishna. Another point is that now Keynote Shankar Giri, exclusive member of the Indian Institution, is requested to garland Honorable Mr. Justice. Now Vice President Abhiyan Yagishan is requested former Judge Allahabad High Court, Mr. Justice asked the situation is also requested to present Putin bouquet to Dr. Allahabad. Mr. Justice Markande Kadju and Honorable Mr. Justice Vishnu Sahai. They now come up understanding the efforts and dedication of young lads to the mission. Entire association and results from the government. I express my sincerest gratitude to the young lads association for providing function attended by a glittering galaxy of dignitaries, tourists, honorary judges, and lads, as well as
renowned wit, the bench at the bar, have since upheld the ideals of a free and democratic society. The preeminence of Allahabad as a seat of great university and of a great high court was widely acclaimed and acknowledged throughout India for many decades. Some of the greatest lawyers of India and several judges of highest caliber worked with great distinction in the Allahabad High Court and earned the highest esteem of the legal profession throughout the country. Allahabad thus became the confluence of commitment to the values of freedom, to the culture of education, and to the constructive and enduring role of the rule of law in national building. So great was the preeminence of Allahabad High Court at that time. At the time our constitution was being adopted, that a proposal was made to the Constituent Assembly to establish the seat of the Supreme Court of India at Allahabad. Today we all are highly full of inspiration. Due to the presence of you all at one place, it appears as if a galaxy of legal luminaries and stalwarts have assembled together for paying their respect and homage to Pandit Mishra, who himself, yet human approach, are the hallmarks of his judgments, which have profoundly and positively impacted the country while charting the true and correct path of the judge-made law. Once in grip of any constitutional or legal issue, he believes in settling the same finally so as to achieve the ultimate goal he aimed. His recent book entitled A Preamble to the Constitution reflects his scholarship and gives a new dimension to the constitutional interpretation. We all feel privileged to find your Lordship and your source of strength and conviction, Mrs. Justice Laurity, amongst us here in this afternoon. Honorable Mr. Justice B.N. Sri Krishna and Honorable Mr. Justice G.P. Mathur do not need any words for reflecting their scholarship, legal acumen and judicial vision. The law insists on finality of judgments and is more concerned with the strengthening of the judicial system. Your Lordship's judgments have always helped in strengthening the judicial system of our country. I once again welcome your Lordships and hope that you will always bless our efforts
And telling us very nicely something very rare about the dignities of the dais.
Yeah. Mr. K.L. Mishra. Mr. Mishra was born in the year 1904. After securing first class first in high school, intermediate, Sir Arthur Twilver Couch was the examiner. He wrote to Professor Dunn, who was then head of history, who was then head of English in the Allahabad University. Englishmen may have conquered India, but K.L. Mishra has conquered English. But somehow or the other, Mr. Mishra never compromised his sentiment and his belief in an independent India. And this was not compatible with the British rulers. Consequently, what was a loss to the civil service was a gain to the bar. In a very short span, Mr. Mishra made his mark on the bar. In 1952, when Pyarelal Banerjee died, Mr. Mishra was appointed the Advocate General of the state of Uttar Pradesh. And what an Advocate General he was. In 50s itself, he shot into brilliance. He appeared in the Bombay High Court on a number of occasions. K.L. Mishra is arguing. Brother Sri Krishna, who was my senior colleague in the Bombay High Court, would bear me out that Homi Sirabai weighed each every word which he spoke. And a compliment from Homi Sirabai had to be jolly well earned. Homi Sirabai never said anything which he did not mean. When Mr. Mishra went to argue the Blitz case, Sir Jamshedji Kanga, the great doyen of the Bombay Bar, who was a legal historian also, he made a comment and he said that among all the advocates who have come and appeared, wrong to describe him purely as a High Court or a Supreme Court lawyer. He was a great trial court lawyer also. In 1969, there was the Congress split, and Mr. Mishra appeared. In a suave manner, he cross-examined Mr. Morarji Desai. Mr. Siddharth Shankar Ray was then appearing as his junior. About 30 years later, 40 years later, heard Mr. Mishra cross-examining Mr. Morarji Desai said, Mishra's cross-examination in parts was better. That was K.L. Mishra. He was the champagne, Eka Milot, Eka not only of the bar of the Allahabad High Court, but the champagne of the bar of the entire country. Mr. Mishra,
I shall not be speaking much on Pandit Kanhaiya Lal, except to say that he was a giant of the Allahabad High Court bar who brought fame to it, and we are all proud of him. He was truly, to use the words of the English poet, a bard sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time. The subject of today's function is spirituality in the law. I will not venture to speak on this topic, as we will be enlightened on it by the illustrious speakers to follow. But I would like to say, my lords, that the holy city of Prayag is the most appropriate place for a function on the topic spirituality in the law. My lords, Prayag is a spiritual city. It was to this city that Lord Ram first came when he was exiled from Ayodhya, and it was here that he met Rishi Bharadwaj in his ashram on the banks of the Sangam. The Saint Tulsidas in his Ramcharitmanas writes, when narrating this meeting of Lord Ram and Rishi Bharadwaj, Ko kahe sakaye Prayag pabhau, Kalush Kunjar Mrigrau, which means who can tell the greatness of Prayag, the place which destroys a multitude of sins just like a lion destroys an elephant. My lords, when Lord Ram was returning from Lanka on his Pushpak Viman with Sita ji after destroying Ravan and was flying over Prayag congregation, he honored saints and divines of all religions, which showed his tolerant spirit. He honored the famous Chinese Buddhist pilgrim Bahian at Prayag during one of these congregations. During such occasions, Emperor Harshvardhan used to donate to the poor everything he owned, even his personal clothing, and then he would borrow the most befitting place for a function on the topic spirituality and the law. My Lord, the Chief Justice of India is himself a very spiritual person. The whole country was deeply impressed due to the train delay. He could not do so. My Lord, Mr. Justice G.P. Mathur is also a spiritual person, which I know from personal knowledge as he was my neighbor for many years. He is one of us, our elder brother, and we will always seek his guidance. Your Lordships, being spiritual persons, are in my humble opinion the most befitting persons to enlighten us on the topic spirituality and the law.
Brother, there is a Allahabad, my friends at the bar, respected ladies and gentlemen. I consider it a proud privilege to have been asked to speak about the life of Shri Kaniyal Mishra. Shri Mishra was born on 31st August 1903 in village Mariatpur in the district of Azamgarh, a district in eastern Uttar Pradesh which is adjoining to Varanasi, the holiest of all places. His father, Pandit Baijnath Mishra, had achieved singular distinction in his educational career. Pandit Baijnath Mishra had topped in the matriculation and intermediate examination in the whole state and had attained the top position at the bar, both on the civil and criminal side in Azamgarh. He was also a member of the Legislative Council for several years. Shri Kaniyal Mishra showed his brilliance right from the beginning. He stood first in the matriculation examination, first in the intermediate examination, first in the BA Honours examination at Banaras University, and first in LLB, whereby those who had secured lesser marks were finally approved and selected, did not go unnoticed, and the issue was raised in the British Parliament. However, his non-selection in ICS ultimately proved to be a blessing in disguise. As a member of the Indian Civil Service and serving under the British masters, he may not have got that chance to show his extraordinary intellect and brilliance as he got in the noble and independent profession of law. He joined the district bar at Azamgarh in 1928, but that was not the place for a brilliant person like him. In the year 1930, he shifted to Allahabad and started practice in the High Court, where he got full opportunity to show his amazing intellectual powers, and in no time he came in the forefront.
Celebration Committee, Mr. M. Krishnamani, former President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. R.F. Nariman, Senior Advocate at the Supreme Court, Mr. S.C. Mishra, former UP Advocate General and ex-Chairman of the UP Bar Council, and presently a member of Rajya Sabha. For us, remembering the late Pandit Kaniyal Mishra has been a great spiritual act, because by doing so, we keep alive in our thoughts and virtues of great and inspiring personalities like him. The late Pandit Kaniyal Mishra happened to be a class fellow at the Banaras University of my cousin, late Jagannathan Advocate. I myself had the great fortune of having started my legal practice at the High Court in the early 60s when late Pandit Kaniyal Mishra was at the top of his glory as an advocate for excellence. It was also a privilege for me to have appeared with him in some important cases at the High Court. It will be difficult for me to forget the mesmerizing effect which he used to cast on the bench and the bar by virtue of his masterly art of communication in English, as well as by the brilliance in advocacy. As one who declined justice and direct appointment as Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court, and who also declined Supreme Court justice and has once made a rare combination of extreme human goodness and professional excellence. The late Pandit Kehalal Mishra will always be remembered by the future generations of the bench and the bar. We are indeed beholden to the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Mr. R.C. Rahul, Honorable Mr. Justice V. N. Sri Krishna, Honorable Mr. Justice G.P. Mathur, Honorable Mr. Sri Vishnu Sahai, and also Dr. Arun Singh, who all travelled to Allahabad to join us and add grace to this event. It has indeed been our great privilege to have received the spontaneous support and blessings of a number of respectable members. Honorable Mrs. Justice Ruma Pal of the Supreme Court was kind enough to have come here to inaugurate the centenary celebration. The occasion provided a good and great opportunity to recall the matchless role played by the late Pandit Kehalal Mishra in the field of advocacy and jurisprudence. The inaugural function was also graced by the participation of the former Chief Justice of India and former member of the International Court, Mr. Justice R.S. Patel. The second event took place in the memory of late Pandit Kehalal Mishra on the Supreme Court lawns in New Delhi on April 12 this year, which was presided over by the then Chief Justice of India, Mr. V. N. Khare. 5 former Chief Justice of India, besides the Attorney General, the then Attorney General, Mr. Soni Swarajji, sitting apex court judges and members of the Supreme Court Bar, Mr. Shanti Bhushan, the ex-Prime Minister, participated in the event. Rich tributes were paid to the memory of India's great legal luminary, late Pandit Kehalal Mishra, and his great contribution in the field of law and advocacy were remembered. The third event took place at Allahabad on April 17 last year, at which Honorable Mr. Justice Y.K. Sabharwal of the Supreme Court delivered a very enlightening lecture of law and environment, and at which present Mr. Honorable Acting Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court, Mr. Sri Markandeya Karju, also expressed his thoughtful view that some senior lawyers of Allahabad High Court, including former UP Advocate General Mr. B.P. Upadhyay, senior lawyer Dr. R. Dwivedi, Mrs. Ramo Devi Gupta, Mr. S.N. Verma, recalled their unforgettable memories of the greatness of late Pandit Kehalal.
Versatile and multifaceted personality. Switch over to the rest part at this symposium on the topic spirituality. Ladies and gentlemen, there exists overall deterioration of norms and standards in the society, erosion of moral and social values. People have started raising fingers even at our judiciary. Corruption has also crept in. Under these circumstances, symposium on spirituality and law is quite relevant. Because what I feel personally, that money power, muscle power and brain power is quite unlimited, quite limited. But spiritual power is unlimited and is the only source of peace, progress and prosperity in real sense. Though hardly any heed is being paid in this regard. Anyway, it is for the honorable speakers today to highlight and demonstrate thinking on this topic. We have on the dais Mr. M.N. Krishnamani, who is a senior advocate in Supreme Court and former president of the Supreme Court Bar Association, whose legal acumen and spiritual bent of mind is sitting.
When I mention the name of the Honorable Chief Justice of India, he is the father figure of the entire legal profession and also the entire judiciary in our country. I need not have to mention the names of other people. In his name, everything is compressed. I am very happy to be here today. I was here for the inaugural function also. And today the topic selected is a very peculiar one. It is Sajati Janma Satena Paja Govindam. He says, you are having a dip in Ganga. You are visiting 7 sagaras and then have dips in them also. Whatever may be your religion, you can't improve without right knowledge This is what Shankara says in Bhadagovinda. Therefore, it is right knowledge which is spirituality. The outer effects, the outer elements which constitute the narrow aspects of religion, they are religiosity and they are ritualism. All the religions, they have in their core this right knowledge, that is the spirituality as the core of each one of them. It is the outer elements and the ritualistic aspects of religion, they make them separate religions. Hinduism is separate from Islam, Islam is separate from Christianity, Christianity is separate from Parsi religion, only because of the outer elements, these ritualistic aspects. But in the core, all of them are one. They are one because the 5 human values, they constitute the core of all the religions. What are those 5 human values? They are Satya, Dharma, Prema, Shanti and Ahimsa. Even these 5, even amongst these 5, it is the Prema which is the central core. Satya is loving, thought as love is Satya. Dharma is love in action. Action as love is Dharma. And love as a feeling is Shanti. And love as understanding is Ahimsa. Therefore, love constitutes the core, particularly in a democratic state like ours. Rule of law is spoken of. What is rule of law? Rule of law says that even the law has to be dharmic. In Western countries, king can do no wrong was the principle. But in India, from time immemorial, Satya, that is Dharma, is supposed to be the king of the kings actually. The king also has to follow Dharma. That is the difference, vast difference between the Western philosophy and the Western approach and the Indian approach. Now what is Dharma? It is also, though it is the basis for law as well as basis for spirituality. What is Dharma? Because there is any guidance. Whether the action proposed is in conformity with the Shruti. Suppose there is no guidance in the Shruti. Shruti is Vedas and Upanishads, they constitute the Shruti. Shruti in Sanskrit means that which was heard. What is not attributed to man is attributed to God, and that is why it is called a Shruti. Whether it is Vedas or Upanishads or Bible or Quran or Zen Avastha. The persons who came out with them, they never owned them. They said we heard them. Why? Because they are not products of intellectual mind. They are products of intuition. That which is a product of intuition, you don't want to attribute it to yourself because you have a flash of knowledge from nowhere. And therefore our rishis and prophet and Jesus, all these great people, they attributed to their ideas to God himself. That is why they are known as Shruti. Then alternatively, there is no guidance available in Shruti. You have to go to Smritis. Smritis are the laws. Vidura Niti is a Smriti. Manusmriti is a Smriti. Narada Smriti is a Smriti. Even the law made by Parliament, Indian Penal Code is a Smriti really, because they are not products of human mind. You have to consult them, whether your action is in conformity with them. This is the second step. Suppose there is no guidance either in the Smriti or in the Smriti, look to them for guidance. And fourth, he says, suppose there is no guidance either in the Smriti or in the Shruti or in even the actions of the elders, then what do? You have to go by your conscience. You have to go by your conscience. This is what Veda Vyasa said. But the listener was saying, Swami, I am not able to understand all this. Because one has to go to the Smriti, one has to go to the Shruti and see the conduct of the elders. All this is very difficult. Tell us how to deduce Dharma, how to deduce dharmic action. He said, in one easiest test to find out what you do is correct. This is what Veda Vyasa said. So that is Dharma. And another thing, I said about Article 14. how it was elevated to the position of Dharma by the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court. Justice Bhagavati and Justice V.R. Krishna, through series of decisions, they turned out this third dimension of Article 14, made it dharmic. And today, Article 14 is enough in the Constitution. We need not have other articles in Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Because what all of them represented, now they have been brought into equality. Now, as far as equality is concerned, why that was Dharma was seen in Article 14 by the government. Nothing else. Economics. And he also says, in Gita he says, Panditana, Samadarshina, a truly wise person will look at a brahmin, a paraya, a cow, an elephant, everything, and even a dog with the same eyes. This is Gita, where equality is mentioned as dharma, and again, Supreme Court has found that dharma in equality clause of the Constitution. Now, after having said so much, I think I should leave it to others to deal with the subject. But only one thing I wanted to say. The Western philosophy, Westerners, they had only one kind of evolution in their mind, Darwin's theory of evolution. But Darwin's theory of evolution dealt only with the neck becoming longer and nose becoming sharper. And how dog came from the wolf and how lion came from the cat. This was Darwin's theory of evolution. But our Indian wisdom on evolution is something superb. It does not deal with just evolution, it deals with evolution also. A great process went on before evolution. It is called evolution, where the God consciousness, the divine consciousness became stone. And from stone, then it is again becoming divine consciousness. It is called evolution in our country. How God consciousness became stone? The God consciousness, the divine consciousness was all alone. It was one without a second, but it wanted to become many. Ayatri Upanishad says that Atma va itameka eva gramasit nanyat kimchina vishya. The God consciousness became matter, then the solar system, the stars, and whatever we are now seeing, all of them got formed. Evolving. He is evolving into a higher being. That is the ongoing process going on now. It is in this process, law contributes a lot. Law itself is a product of evolution. But again, it is serving in further evolution of man. That is the contribution law is making today. Therefore, even in the divine destiny, that is the human destiny set to human by the divine, law plays a very vital role. The subject today, on the subject today I have spoken so much. Only one thing I want to say. Swami Ramkirti, who was a very great saint, who would have even outbeaten Swami Vivekananda if he had only lived for another 2-3 years more, because he died at the age of 30 or so, very young person. He says, love is the only law of life. All other laws are organized robberies, he says. Compassion, which is another form of love, is the very theme of justice. Law, when tempered with compassion, it transforms into justice. That is the link between spirituality and law. I am concluding with a quotation of a great and end the day with you. Thank you very much.
I request Mr. Nariman to please come and address us. Mr. Nariman.
Thank you very much. Chief Justice Lahote, dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. To have to inflict my voice upon 3 honorable Supreme Court judges on a Saturday morning is, I think, a little more than what they bargained for. But I promise this will not be a court performance. I intend to stick to the time allotted to me. You have heard many great names bandied about today. And two of them I recall with a special affection, that of Sir Jamshedji Kanga and Mr. H.M. Silver. They both happened to be Parsi priests first, before they were lawyers. A qualification which somehow I, in my own humble way, also fulfilled. Now, to become a Parsi priest, one has to undergo an extremely rigorous training at the age, say, between 10 and 12. One has to con by rote some 3.5 hours of prayer, which one then has to spill out on the 28th day of incarceration in a Vatican. You have to pray five times a day, and generally live a life of seclusion, even before you have attained majority. But the one thing...
Let's invite Mr. Singh to witnesses.
परम आदरणीय भारत के प्रमुख इलाहाबाद तो हिंदी की राजधानी है। उच्चतम न्यायालय के माननीय न्यायाधिपति श्री कृष्ण जी, माननीय न्यायाधिपति श्री माथुर साहब, माननीय इलाहाबाद उच्च न्यायालय के मुख्य न्यायाधिपति श्री कार्तिक साहब। मुझे वो कार्यवाहक शब्द अच्छा नहीं लगा। उसको भी कार्य का निर्वाह करना पड़ता है और तथाकथित कार्यवाहक को भी वही काम करना पड़ता है। इसलिए मैंने उस शब्द का प्रयोग नहीं किया है। न्यायाधिपति श्री जैन, हमारे सहयोगी श्री राजवंशी जी, श्री कृष्णमणि, श्री प्रवीण पाल, और विशेषतया मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि आज हमारे सुप्रीम कोर्ट के न्यायाधिपति श्री माथुर यहीं के और श्री विष्णु सहाय जी ने इतना कुछ कहा कि जिससे लगता है कि एक प्रशस्त व्यक्तित्व का परिचय क्या दिया जा रहा है, कैसे दिया जा रहा है। ये राष्ट्रीय शताब्दी समिति में मेरे सभी सहयोगियों का ऋण मानता हूँ और आभार मानता हूँ हमारे माननीय पूर्व न्यायाधिपति सुप्रीम कोर्ट के श्री के मिश्रा साहब और श्रीमती मिश्रा जी। मैं किन शब्दों में धन्यवाद दूँ, क्योंकि ये मेरे जीवन का एक सार्थक वर्ष रहा है, एक सार्थक उपक्रम रहा है। इलाहाबाद से जुड़ना भी एक सार्थक प्रसंग था और उससे भी अधिक सार्थक प्रसंग रहा मेरे जीवन में यहाँ की ऐसी विभूतियों से जुड़ना जिनमें निश्चय ही दिवंगत श्री कन्हैयालाल जी मिश्रा सर्वश्रेष्ठ मेरे जीवन में रहे और उनका अंतरंग सानिध्य मुझे मिला और यह एक अवसर हमारी राष्ट्रीय समिति को मिला कि न केवल इलाहाबाद का, न केवल भारत के वकील और न्यायाधिपति समुदाय का, बल्कि समूचे भारतवर्ष का समवेत प्रशस्ति और समवेत श्रद्धांजलि हम उनको अर्पित करेंगे। मैंने कहा कि ये कई पीढ़ियों की समवेत श्रद्धांजलि। अकबर इलाहाबादी यहाँ के बहुत बड़े कवि हुए, बहुत बड़े शायर। मैं उनका बहुत ही हृदय से प्रशंसक हूँ। तो एक बार तो उन्होंने कहा कि इलाहाबाद में धरा ही क्या है सिवाय अकबर के और अमरूद के। अगर आज कोई कहे तो वो कहेंगे कि सिवाय पंडित कन्हैयालाल मिश्र के और दूसरी चीजों के इलाहाबाद में और भी बहुत कुछ। किंतु मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि ये श्रद्धा सुमन, ये श्रद्धांजलि एक पुरातन संस्कृति का को रेखांकित करने के लिए, जब उत्तरवर्ती पीढ़ियां पूर्ववर्ती पीढ़ियों को प्रणाम करती है। हमारे मुख्य न्यायाधीश महोदय ने जिक्र किया इसलिए
कि उन्होंने पुरानी और नई रोशनी के लिए एक बात बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से कही। उन्होंने कहा कि पुरानी और नई रोशनी में फर्क है तो इतना है, उसे किश्ती नहीं मिलती, इसे साहिल नहीं मिलता। किंतु परम आदरणीय कन्हैयालाल जी मिश्रा एक किश्ती भी थे और किश्ती में पतवार थामने वाले माझी भी थे जो किनारे पर ले जाए। सिद्धार्थ हम मनुदाम को कहते हैं और मेरे को दोनों को ये बड़ा अवसर मिला कि उनको हमने देखा, अदालत में देखा, जीवन में देखा, जीवन की अलग अलग प्रसंगों में उनको देखा और मुझे वो छवि उनकी याद बराबर है कि अदालत के बाद में एक सुंदर सिल्क का कुर्ता पहने हुए वो 50 दूसरे काम निपटा। हिंदी के बड़े समर्थक थे, भारतीय संस्कृति के बड़े आराधक थे और मैं समझता हूँ कि सदाशय का, सद्भावना का, सुकृत का ऐसा व्यक्ति और कोई नहीं मिल सकता। मैं उनके जीवन की ओर देखता हूँ तो ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि उनमें एक त्रिवेणी संगम समाया हुआ है, सत्य निष्ठा का, न्याय निष्ठा का, करुणा और संवेदन की त्रिवेणी का ये समाया हुआ त्रिवेणी उनके अंदर था और मैंने बार बार जीवन में अनुभव किया। जब किसी प्रसंग में देखा तो मैंने पाया कि उनकी सदाशयता, उनकी उदारता, उनका विराट